Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are back in the shop today. We've got the Corvette behind us. We've got the SS back behind us. But today we're going to be doing a couple of maintenance items for the Corvette. Mostly to do with rear suspension, and kind of saw this in my hand, and this is actually a new rear shock arm for the back hatch. So when I actually put the roll cage in a couple weeks ago, actually a couple months ago now, when I put that roll cage in, I actually had one of the struts pop off the clip point, and the whole hatch came down and smashed my arm. I was actually wedged in place between the fender and the hatch, because what happened was when the hatch fell down, it actually pinned my arm like this. Actually, it was my other arm, but it pinned my arm like this, and I actually had to end up grabbing my foot, kind of, putting my foot up underneath the hatch, the part that was still open, press up with my arm and kick with my foot, and I was actually able to get out from underneath the hatch. So when that happened, I was like, okay, it's time to replace those struts. So today we're actually only going to be able to install this on the one side, because on the driver's side, I still actually need to replace the interior panel. I actually bought a replacement panel, because when I swapped that out, when I was pulling the clips off, it snapped one of the clips, it snapped on the panel, and so I'm going to end up replacing that. But I'm actually waiting for the Corvette seat project to be finished, so that when I swap the seats, I swap that panel over, I can do that all at once, and I can also install the other hatch shock. So also the other thing to notice, these are actually from Lift Support Direct, or Lift Support Depot, and these are called the Strong Arms. And if you guys will notice, these actually have the electrical clips on the end. Those two electric clips are actually what the electrical plugs into for the rear defroster. So if you're going to be replacing your rear hatch shocks, make sure you buy the ones with the electric tabs on it, because that's what basically the power runs through to power your rear defroster. So I believe I actually have these same shocks on the front of the Corvette. The name brand sounds familiar. I may have taken the stickers off, I'm not sure. Let's look. Yeah, I ripped the stickers off, but I believe that the front are the same brand. I believe they are this Strong Arm. So that does sound familiar. So let's go ahead and get the hatch open, and we'll show you how to replace this on the passenger side. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have the correct length strut, and these are the same on the back, so that's good. And as you can see, that's the electrical clip we need to unplug. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, takes a little bit of strength, but that will eventually pull out. The next thing we're going to need to do is actually take a screwdriver, pop off this upper clip off. There's actually another clip down here. Need to get this out of the way, unplug the bottom, and same thing, pull that clip out, and the passenger side will be able to come out. Alright guys, so I have already removed the clip from the top. This should just slide right out, and there you go. We have the whole strut assembly loose. If you guys look, the hatch is trying to shut, so that's how this popped off last time. And I'm not sure if you guys can see, but I actually have the new strut. I have the clips already halfway popped off, so we should be good. Let's go ahead and put the shock side up first. Alright, push the clip in. Push the clip in. And there you go. I think we're good on the passenger side. I still need to replace the driver's side like I was telling you earlier, but to finish this project off, we will take the electrical clip, plug it back in, take the old strut out, take the electrical clip, plug it in on the bottom, and there you go, we should be done. Now, the only thing that's not going to transfer is this rubber boot. I'm looking at it. I'm not sure what you guys could see, but this is fully molded into the actual strut itself. If you try to take that off, I think it's just going to rip. Yeah, so that's the only thing you lose by not having the OEM ones is you lose this rubber boot. And honestly, guys, I'm not even sure if the new GM pieces even come with them. I'll have to check. If they do, we may switch brands. If they don't, you know, not a bigger deal. All right, so this project's pretty much wrapped up. So that's gonna be it for the first project today. It was just that simple, you know, hatch, strut, shock, whatever you want to call that thing. Today what I need to do is actually raise the back of the car. You guys will remember a few weeks ago that we installed these new Michelin 4S tires as well as these new ZR1 side skirts. Well, what's happening is the side skirt is actually rubbing on the tire and it's causing some marks in it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's caused a little bit of damage here, and what I want to do is I want to clearance this ZR1 side skirt. It's actually happened on the rear, on the passenger and driver side. So I think we're going to clearance this little plastic fender flap thing, and we're probably going to raise the back of the car up probably a ½ inch to an inch, just depending. So I was actually looking at the instructions from Pfadt Racing, like from years ago, their adjustment. And so what we're going to do today is actually measure before and after on the coilover adjustments. Now in the past I've actually tried to do this on the car, but you know, I was having issues with getting the lower shock assembly to actually unscrew, so maybe we won't have that issue today. But even if we do have to take them out, it's only 3 bolts. There's 2 bolts on the upper mount and there's 1 bolt on the bottom of the actual rear coilover itself. The only other thing that we might need to do is we actually might need to disconnect the rear trailing arm. Basically it's the heim joint that connects the rear control arm to the subframe. That's like an 18mm bolt. We may need to disconnect that as well. If we do, we'll let you know. So let's go ahead, get this car back on the lift, and we'll get started. Alright guys, the car is obviously back in the air. As you can see, the rear passenger is at 27 7/8 of an inch tall from the fender to the ground. The driver's side is 28 1/4, so we actually are off by not quite ½ an inch between the driver's side rear and the passenger side rear. So I'm going to try to fix that while we're back here, as well as trim those panels like I was saying. So I think the goal is, I'm going to try to get 28 1/2 inches in the back on the ride height, just because I want extra clearance for those extra large tall tires. So the adjustment, so every 1/4 inch of adjustment on the threads on the coilovers is a ½ inch of ride height. So on the passenger rear, you know, we're at 27 7/8. We're more than ½ an inch off. So I think we're going to do a full 1/4 inch of threads as well as a little bit more. So maybe like somewhere between 1/4 and ½ something like maybe 3/8 of an inch, like there. And on the driver's rear, we're only a 1/4 inch off, so we should really only have to go up an 1/8 of an inch in thread height, if my numbers are correct. So hopefully, like I said, driver's side about an 1/8 of an inch. On the passenger rear, you know, something about like maybe 3/8 of an inch. So, you know, somewhere between a 1/4 inch and ½ So we'll go from there. But all right. Let's go ahead and get the wheels off, get the coilover spanners out, and start adjusting this thing. Alright guys, we have the back of the passenger side torn apart. You guys will see that we have the rear outer tie rod. I know that's not what this is. I think it's just like a stabilizing rod between the rear subframe and the spindle. We'll just call it the outer tie rod. We had to loosen that up, remove it from the drop spindle. And you guys will see the gap between the lower locking ring and the body of the, you know, lower part of the coilover. Well, if you guys can see over here, I have the 0.3125 measured out on my little measuring device, and basically what we did was I calculated out I needed an extra 0.3125 of a gap to raise this side up to that 28 1/2 inches. That's what we figured out. So what I did was we loosened the lower locking ring, and we simply threaded the body of the coilover up, and now what we're going to do is lock this down. So that's basically how you gained your 0.3125 of an inch in ride height, and that should give us the 5/8 of an inch ride height that we need to raise the rear of the car up. And I've actually already done the driver's side. We measured it out. We did that same thing, loosened the collar, threaded the body of the shock up out of the lower part, then we locked it back down. And the driver's side, we actually didn't have to take the rear tie rod out. I'm not really sure why the passenger side was just extra tight or whatever, but you know, so the driver's side's done. Then over here, this is what I was talking about with the ZR1 little splash guard thing, the arrow piece right here. What I did on the driver's side, basically where the melted plastic was, because this is the plastic melted against the tire back here. So basically all I did was I kind of just cut a little longer of what had already melted. That way, you know, if anything, if it's not going to hit anything next time the tire, if it ever compresses again and rubs against this. So what we're going to do, like I said, I'll just trim this down, use a pair of shears, think like something like this, use a pair of metal shears, cut that up, and if I need to, you know, use a knife to do the fine detail. So, all right guys, I'm not sure if you could even tell where we trimmed it, but we did trim probably a good 1/8 of an inch off this inside edge. We kind of made it match the fender itself because the fender kind of goes in and narrows right here, so we kind of follow this line. So that actually wraps up all the projects back here. We got the coilover adjusted, and we got this little fender arrow piece from the ZR1. We got all that trimmed up, and we should be good to go. All right guys, so I've done the test here. We can fit about 2 fingers on both this side and the driver's side. Now I haven't really gone out for a test drive, so I don't know if this is gonna settle anymore, but you know, just looking at it, I think we're good, and using the same 2 fingers to measure all the way around, we have about 2 finger gap on the front, the driver, passenger, rear, and the driver's rear. So I think we're good there. But also you can't really tell that we trimmed the inside edge of the ZR1 arrow splitter things on both sides, so we should be good there. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for today's video. We got the rear suspension adjusted. Like I said, we just raised the back up a little bit. We trimmed the little ZR1 plastic splitters. Actually, you can see it's highlighted by the wheel. And we also got one of those hatch shocks installed in the trunk. So yeah, this is kind of just a maintenance video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you guys want to subscribe, please do. If you want to know when I upload more Corvette content, hit that bell notification button, hit that subscribe button, and if you guys want to help support the channel, click all the links down below and check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. Thanks guys, have a great one.